The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place. With my partner, Ian Parker, I am Prado Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
Welcome in to ESPN's Best Bets for this beautiful, hot week in Las Vegas, Nevada. There is the Strip, and there is the UFC Apex. Do not stand anywhere outside of that thing right now. Have the AC going as much as possible, because as a resident of Las Vegas, I can say it is comfortably above triple digits right now. So here I am. You can see the Strip behind me, but that is fake. I am inside. I am in a nice, cool studio. Ian Parker is joining me, as always, from his studio there in Florida. Ian, how are you doing on this fine July 13th?
You know what? I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to stay inside because it's pretty hot here too. And just like last week, I'm all about that air conditioning.
Well, you were out here last week, and that was for UFC 290, which a lot of people are calling maybe the best card ever. I don't know if I would go so far as to say that. I'd have to give it a little bit of thought, but it definitely was a great card. Was it a great card from a gambling perspective? What did we learn? Obviously, Alex Volkanovski did his thing. How did we do?
You know what? Not one of our best. We went 2-4. The only somewhat of help we got there was hitting Pantoja at plus 175 and missing on that Lawler one, originally with very little juice behind it. You know what? This was a night of a lot of upsets. Robert Whittaker, everyone, including myself, thought he was just going to take care of business. It was, in fact, the opposite. Jalen Turner, he threw that high kick. Somehow Dan Hooker walked through that, had a broken face, a broken arm, and got the upset there. Jimmy Crute, you know what? He couldn't get the fight to the floor. The power of Menfield was too much for him. And Lawler and Price, I was a little surprised it went down that way. You know, I said I thought the fight would be competitive. Lawler 7 out of 8 prior to that fight went to a decision. Very shocked he was able to put someone like Price, who's tough, so quickly. And then Esteban Ribovics got it done on the card. So definitely not one of our best. It was a fun card. I agree with you. I don't think it was one of the best of all time per se, but I think it definitely performed and was extremely entertaining.
I think it was one of the best. I don't know if I would go so far as to call it the best right off of the bat, but it was such a fun, unpredictable night. There was all these first-round finishes. I mean, Robbie Lawler going out in the style in which he did. Unfortunately, when things are unpredictable, sometimes it means that from a gambling perspective, it's not our best weekend. But alas, we move on to UFC Fight Night this week at the UFC Apex. It is headlined by the ageless Holly Holm, who has been doing this, it seems like, forever. MMA and then a whole boxing career to talk about before that. She comes in as a favorite, minus 175 in a bantamweight bout against Mayra Bueno Silva. And you got to wonder how invigorated Holly Holm is and how invigorated all of these 135-pounders are now that Amanda Nunes is gone. And we will talk about the 6-fight main card. You can find it on ESPN and ESPN Plus, 10 Eastern. But let's start with the main event. Holly Holm coming in. She just signed a new contract, 6 fights. Before her last one against Yana Santos, taking on Bueno Silva, who has won 3 in a row. Holly Holm, that number is creeping up there at age 41, but if she's not facing the elite of the elite, she has been getting the job done over the course of her career. Does that fall off here, or do we like her here against Bueno Silva as the favorite?
You know what? I don't really see where Bueno Silva's clear path to victory here is. You know, look, someone in Holly Holm, she's one of those fighters where I don't really think age is a factor yet. Her last fight, she looked as good as ever. Yes, it was against Yana Santos, who's not necessarily a world beater, but it showed a lot of aspects of her game in Holly that we haven't seen as much yet, meaning being more of an offensive grappler, showing that top game, that pressure. We all know she can strike. We all know she can laterally move in and out, and she's probably still the best technical striker in the division. However, against Bueno Silva, Silva's not fighting the elite either, and for her, she's getting these submissions off fighters. Prior to that, very up and down. She's also never fought in a 5-round main event. Holly Holm could do 5 rounds, 10 rounds. Cardio never fails her. So I think as long as she stays clear and safe in the first 2 rounds, and she's a smart fighter, she rarely makes mistakes, I think Holly gets the win here. I think it's going to be a comfortable decision. She knows how to stay out of trouble, and she does her homework. I just don't see where Silva beats her here if she doesn't catch her early in the fight.
Okay, taking Holly Holm in the main event. One quick follow-up here is that, as we know, Holly Holm, she's a smart fighter. Time seems to kind of tick off that clock there. A lot of decisions in her career. Same with Bueno Silva. When you have two fighters and you feel like a 5-round, it's so likely that the fight is going to go to a scorecard. What do you look for in terms of, well, what could be a reason in which do you know what I'm saying? If you're trying to find value in a potential finish when there's not a lot of finishes between these two, what are you looking for?
Well, what I'm looking for is what Holly has done and compared to what someone in Bueno Silva just doesn't have the experience in. You know, with Bueno Silva, we don't really know what she's made of yet from a cardio standpoint in 5 rounds when she's going to go against someone, Holly Holm, who's going to constantly be moving. You know, she's also going to be in a situation where if she is on her back, she's not fighting against someone who is not going to take her seriously. You know, she's not going to catch Holly Holm in a knee bar or an arm bar. Holly will move to side. She'll stand up. She'll force Silva to stand up. She's going to force Silva to move a lot in that first round. Holly is just going to keep moving in that circle, in that octagon. She's going to keep going round and round. So for me, I think Holly may tire her out. So if you're looking for, if you're looking at Bueno Silva, it's a finish in the first 2 rounds. If you're looking at Holly, it's either a decision or a late 3rd, 4th, or 5th round finish because, again, we just don't know what Silva's made of in those what we call championship rounds of a main event.
All right, so that is your main event. Let's go to the co-main event. If we didn't have the best week, gambling-wise, last week, Ian, Jack Della Maddalena had a far worse week than we did. He came over here from Perth, which might as well be on another planet. I mean, it takes forever to get over here on these flights from Perth, Australia to Las Vegas, Nevada. He got here nice and early to acclimate for UFC 290. He was supposed to face Sean Brady. Brady pulls out. They find him a new opponent. That opponent falls off the day before the fight, so it's just been a nightmare situation for Maddalena. He's just stuck around saying, please find me anybody. They found a guy in Basil Hafez who has not fought in the UFC thus far. Fun name, Basil Hafez, and if he does have a belt in another organization. Fury, are you familiar with this guy, and what kind of route can we try to take on betting this fight as Maddalena coming in a -760 favorite?
Well, look, you know, with Maddalena, his opponent, he has to look to take this fight to the ground. Anyone who tries to stand with Jack Della, it's just a matter of time before he snipes you out. We saw it against Randy Brown, someone who does have a good ground game, someone who had the range, very lengthy, and Jack Della didn't have to throw that much, but once he landed, you just saw the type of dynamite he has. His opponent here can take the fight to the ground. There is somewhat of a threat there. You know, I'm actually surprised because right now we're only getting a really heavy favorite in him at -760. But if you go and look at maybe some other books that may have under 1.5, the number's not as crazy as you would think. You know, in his last fight before his opponent bowed out the day before due to a crazy rare disease, that number was very high. This one's not there. You know, Jack is very well-rounded. I think he's one of those top prospects. This is one of those fights, though, where in order to get the win, you want to pull off an upset. You got to put him on his back. I don't see it happening. I think Jack Della gets it done with ease. Probably a round 1 knockout.
What a wild, 10, 12, 15 days from Maddalena. Supposed to come in and fight a top 10 opponent in Brady, and now here he is the following week taking on Basil Hafez, who was not a UFC fighter as recently as a couple days ago. So let's take a look at the rest of this 6-fight main card. Again, you can find it on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It starts off with Francisco Prado taking on that man right there, Ottoman, who has had his share of success in the UFC. Ian Parker, Ottoman Azaitar versus Francisco Prado. Who do you like here?
I'm going with Ottoman Azaitar. You know, I like what I saw out of him in his first fight in the UFC. He had a little bit of a layoff, and then he lost to Matt Frivola, which was a crazy knockout. We were there. You know, and then his opponent, Prado, just kind of stared at Jamie Malarkey for 5 rounds. I know he's tough. I know he's got capabilities here, but I didn't see enough out of him for him to be a favorite or even this type of line. So either go under 1.5, or I'm going to go with Ottoman Azaitar in this fight.
All right, taking Ottoman Azaitar there, who I believe, when I was setting it up, called him Ottoman. The heat is obviously getting to my brain. Let's move on to the next one. Albert Duraev taking on Jun Young Park. Jun Young Park -155. What do you think about this one?
I'm going with the Iron Turtle here. Park has just been way more consistent. He knows exactly who he is. And when it comes to Duraev, if he can't get the fight to the floor and he's forced to fight off his back foot and he's forced to wrestle defensively, he gets tired. He's not have a good gas tank. That last fight against Chidi Nokiani in rounds 2 and 3, he struggled to get the fight to the floor. I like Park here. I'm still okay with that number. I hope it doesn't go that much higher. He's going to push the pace. I'm going to go with Park here at -155.
All right, and from there we go to the ladies. Norma Dumont taking on Chelsea Chandler. Dumont, not surprising here, -150. Chandler coming back +125. What do you think about this one?
Look, I think a lot of people are going to be taking Chelsea Chandler because of what she did in her first fight against Julia Stolarienko, but you got to realize who she was actually fighting. If you protect yourself against the armbar, it's kind of like an auto win. She looked good. Everyone looks at her as like a part of the Diaz scrap pack, and I get it. But Norma Dumont, even though this division, whatever you want to call it, she's going to be at the top of this division. She's fought higher level competition. Anywhere that Chelsea's good, I believe Norma's better. I'm going with Dumont here to get it done.
Nadim Sadaya versus Terrence McKinney. That will round out the main card on ESPN.
You know what? This fight has got Fight of the Night written all over it. Nadim, he was very exciting against Evan Elder, but he was losing on all 3 scorecards, and he won because of a TKO via cut. Now, Terrence McKinney has fought the better level competition. We know he's got skills. He's capable. The question is, A, can he take a punch, and can he get into the middle of the second round without taking too much damage? When I looked at this before there was even lines, I assumed it was going to be -110 each. It's not. McKinney's the underdog. I am taking Terrence McKinney here. You know, I didn't see enough of his opponent to think that he could beat McKinney yet. I'm going to go McKinney. And, Brett, on top of that, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to make Terrence McKinney by TKO or KO my prop of the night. That's the way I see him getting it done. He can use his wrestling, but when he tends to do that without throwing anything, that's where his cardio goes out the window. I think this is do or die for him. I think he's fighting for a roster spot. This is an opportunity where his experience should come into play. This is someone that almost beat Drew Dober, that did knock out Matt Frivola. I think he could do it again, and this is at plus odds. I'm taking a shot on T-Rex McKinney.
Interesting, man. I like it because it really is a big swing, because I think that Vegas and the bettors got too much on McKinney, and now it's almost like you're saying they went too far the other way, so there's some value here on McKinney, especially if you can get him on that prop. Okay, so that's our 6-fight main card. Let's move on to the prelims that you can find on ESPN+. Just rapid fire through those prelim picks, Ian Parker.
Let's go with Melsick Tucker Lutz fight to start round 3. I'm going to go Victoria Dudakova, double win method victory by sub or decision. Her opponent, Estelle Nunez, will come out firing round 1. Cardio tends to fade. Costa at -225. Look, you know what? Originally it was -190. His number's a little high, so I do think he wins, but find another way. Otherwise, that one's tough. Evan Elder, -330. I couldn't find a prop there. He'll be part of our parlay. I think he gets it done. Tyson Nam versus Azat under 2.5 rounds. Azat Maxim is a phenomenal prospect. Keep an eye there. Munoz over Deaton. And last but not least, over 2.5 rounds between Perez and Evan Smith.
All right, let's keep the picks going here. Where are we going with the parlay this weekend?
Yeah, last week, Robert Whitaker and Jalen Turner did not help me out here. So this week, we're going to take Jack Della Maddalena. I can't find anything else on him. Only that -760. I think he wins. I'm going to take it. Lutz versus Melsick fight to start round 2. Evan Elder and Azat. Not a pretty number. Quite chalky. +129. You know what? When you take those 4 favorites, put them together, I'd rather get plus money than rest the juice.
There is Parker's parlay, and we move right on to the best bets for UFC Fight Night.
I'm going Holly Holm in the main event. The experience, the 5 rounds, the cardio, the movement. I think she's going to make this fight to her strength as opposed to just giving the veteran lesson towards Bueno Silva. Unless Silva's on her back fishing for submissions, I don't see her beating Holm. We're getting that at -175. The Iron Turtle, Jun Young Park against Duraev. It's going to be a cardio thing for me, and Park has that in spades. I think he gets it done. Norma Dumont fought higher level competition. Chelsea Chandler fought very bottom of the division. Now she's fighting closer to the top. Dumont's got a lot of experience here and is very underrated. I think she gets it done. I'm going Terrence McKinney at +115 odds. I don't think he should be the underdog here. Granted, that last win by his opponent was literally due to a cut. Otherwise, across all 3 scorecards, he was losing. And last but not least, Lutz versus Melsick fight to start round 3. 5 picks this week. Let's go.
All right, quite a bit of love here on Terrence McKinney for this week. And then, of course, everybody's favorite part, or at least my favorite part, the long shot parlay. Where are we going?
It'll really be my favorite part if we hit it this week. So we're going to go with Park by submission. Look, if he gets Duraev tired and takes the back, he can make it happen. Norma Dumont, this is how she usually wins by decision. We're getting plus odds on that. I'll take it. Otman Azaitar -105. Dudakova, she is a submission specialist. If she can tire out Nunez, I think a submission +175 is a very good number. This one, if we got to get past this first one first, Brett. Ashley Evans Smith versus Perez. People are really high on Perez in this fight. I don't really see why. I don't think she looked great in her last fight. Her opponent's combined record prior to that was like 8-36. Evan Smith has fought better competition. I think she's a live dog.
Okay, so a little bit of a different long shot parlay, because usually we kind of like do like 3 or 4 picks that are like a little bit bigger odds. Now we're kind of extending it. So we need a lot of good results, but maybe not quite so unlikely results to get it done here with a nice little payout on the long shot parlay. Before we let you go this week, we got to talk about a big fight that was announced last week. I think we all knew it was coming. Jon Jones taking on Stipe Miocic. Even though we all knew it was coming, still a very exciting announcement. We are here to talk about it from a gambling perspective, as always. So, of course, we will talk about that fight in depth when it happens in November. But the current odds, Jon Jones opening at -330, Stipe +260. No surprise there. Stipe is actually coming off of a loss in his last fight, has not fought in years. Jon Jones looked pretty good against Ciryl Gane. I don't think we got to see a whole lot out of him. If you were going to throw some money on that line right now, Ian, is it about what you thought it would be, and sort of your preliminary thoughts on this fight that we'll see in a few months?
It's pretty much right there. You know, I think you kind of hit it on the head. It's a combination of Stipe not being active. It's a combination of Jon Jones coming back from really a long time off himself and making his heavyweight debut. And we really didn't get to see a whole lot. He did exactly what we thought he would do if he was going to beat Ciryl Gane. Now, look, Stipe's got good boxing. So does Ciryl Gane. The difference here is going to be, can Stipe still wrestle? Can he stop that initial shot from Jon? Because I got to assume Jon's going to close that distance, make this a really ugly fight against the cage, use his wrestling, and wear down Stipe. So what I'm going to be looking towards, yes, -330, parlay piece if it stays there. Otherwise, over 1.5 rounds, Jones inside the distance. Very curious to see what type of numbers we're going to get there.
Hey, our boy DC says a lot of ridiculous, dumb things, and I will say that to his face. He says absolutely ridiculous things all the time, but I agree with him what he said about this matchup. If Stipe has quickness in his hands, if the boxing is still there, because that's what we always wanted to find out about Jon Jones. Can he take that heavyweight punch? Ciryl Gane didn't get to land anything on him. If Stipe can land a heavyweight shot on Jon Jones, that's where I think it gets interesting. But again, we will have plenty of time to talk about Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic in the coming months. Until then, we will focus on Holm versus Bueno Silva, Saturday, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Prelims, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. It's going to be a good card, and hopefully it's going to be a lucrative card for myself, Ian, and all of you viewers out there. Take care, and we will see you next week. Enjoy the weekend.